reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 6. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati saha, that. Why? Certainly. Pumsam, for mankind. Paraha, sublime. Dharmaha, occupation. Yataha, by which. Bhaktihi, devotional service. Adhokshaje, unto the transcendence. Ahaituki, causeless. Apratihata, unbroken. Yaya, by which. Atma, the self. Suprasidati, completely satisfied. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Translation with repetition. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this statement, Sri Suta Goswami answers the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. The sages asked him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called the pravritti marga, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called the nivritti marga, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence or Brahma Bhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. There is just the futile attempt to get rid of the miseries, and temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior. But devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which leads one to eternal, blissful, and all-cognizant life, is called the superior quality of occupation. This is sometimes polluted when mixed with the inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. Renunciation or abnegation for ultimate good is certainly a better occupation than an enjoyment in the diseased condition of life. Such enjoyment only aggravates the symptoms of disease and increases its duration. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, that is, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should therefore accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of the devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive activities, and philosophical speculation. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. We have purposely denoted dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. A living being's sustenance of existence is to coordinate his activities with his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is the central pivot of living beings, and he is the all-attractive living entity or eternal form amongst all other living beings or eternal forms. Each and every living being has his eternal form in the spiritual existence, and Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. Krishna is the complete whole, and everything else is his part and parcel. The relation is one of the servant and the served. It is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in the present conditional state of material existence. That will gradually give one the clue to actual life and please him to complete satisfaction. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a very important verse of the Bhagavatam. One of the foundational verses which every devotee should know by memory. Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Sutta Goswami here, he is answering the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. In the first chapter, the previous chapter, text 11, the sages of Naimisharanya asked a question. Bhurini bhuri karmani shrotavyani vibhagashaha ataha sadho atrayat saram samudritya manishaya bruhi bhadraya bhutanam enatma suprasidati. You see, the last sentence is the same. Yayatma suprasidati. Yena atma suprasidati, by which atma will be suprasidati. What is it that by which the living entities will be suprasidati was the question, and the answer is yayatma, by this they will be atma suprasidati. Yayatma suprasidati. So, in fact, to the 6 questions that the sages of Naimisharanya ask, you will find answers throughout the Bhagavatam. It's a very excellent composition, the Bhagavatam. How they were able to compose such voluminous literature, keeping the thread of continuity together. Because they didn't have hard disk, they didn't have search engine. Now anything you want, you have to search. But they kept that continuity. That's why Prabhupada says the entire Bhagavatam revolves around these 6 questions the sages of Naimisharanya asked. And the particular question that we are referring to, Bhurini Bhuri Karmani Shrotavyani Vibhagashaha Atha Sadhotrayat Saram Samudritya Manishaya. Vedic literatures are very vast. So many, the 4 Vedas, then there are Upanishads, 108 Upanishads. Then there are Puranas, 18 Puranas. Mahabharata has 1 lakh verses, out of which the Gita is only 700 verses, part of the Mahabharata. So like this, Bhurini Bhuri Karmani Shrotavyani Vibhagashaha. And in all these Vedic literatures, you can classify it, and Bhuri Karmani. There are many, many activities that are recommended. And there are so many subject matter recommended to be heard. Shrotavyani Karmani Bhuri Vibhagashaha, and classified in different ways. Bhurini Bhuri Karmani, multifarious. So, Ataha Sadho Atrayat Saram. Jai Shri Nitai Gauranga. So the sages of Naimisharanya are asking, therefore, Sadho, O sage, O great sage, they have chosen Suta Goswami as the speaker. Why Suta Goswami was spoken? Because that was mentioned in the few verses before. He was very learned, and he had heard the conversation that was going on between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And he is one of those who understood that conversation. Sometimes so many people will be in the assembly. Not everybody will understand everything. Suta Goswami was one of those who had understood. And so they selected him and placed before him the 6 questions. And one of the questions is that the Vedic literatures are vast. So, yat saram samudritya bruhi. So, can you please, samudritya means carefully select. Saram, select the essential aspect, the sara, and bruhi, and speak that. And don't randomly select manishaya samudritya. Very thoughtfully, very intelligently. Samudritya, manishaya samudritya, saram bruhi. And that is essence, please speak. Because that saram by which Bhadraya Bhutanam, which will bring all goodness to the living entities. And Yenatma Suprasidati, by which the living entity will be pleased, completely satisfied. Prasidati, prasannaha, prasidati, suprasidati, completely satisfied. And so, in answer to that is this important, very important reply that Sutta Goswami is giving. So he is saying, Savai pumsam paro dharma. He did not say, I'm going to tell you something for all the Brahmins. This is very good. For all the Indians, it is very good. Pumsam paro dharma. For all of humanity, this is the best. This is the best dharma. And quickly going to the last part of the purport, Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada has translated the word dharma as occupation. This is also a very, very interesting presentation. Prabhupada is saying, I have translated this word dharma as occupation very thoughtfully, deliberately. Because if you take the word dharma, the root of the word dharma, dhr, means, dhr is the word from which only dharayate, dharani. Dharani is, the earth is called dharani because it holds all of us. It supports all of us. We build our homes on dharani, dhruti, dharani, dharayate. It sustains us. In the same way, dharma is that occupation which sustains us. See, Prabhupada said, we have purposely denoted dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. We are all existing. But what is it that sustains our existence? It is that occupation. And what is that supreme occupation that can suprasidati? Someone sent me a small message of a very, very successful businessman in our country. Very rich, very famous. And he is very old now. And so he is saying, I'm feeling so lonely. And I'm feeling so lonely and unhappy. See, after all his lifetime of big business, becoming so successful, such a rich man, such a famous man, such a respected man, he's now feeling lonely and unhappy. You see? We don't want that. So we want an occupation that will make us yenatma, yayatma, suprasidati. So that occupation which will sustain us and make us very, very happy. And that is being disclosed here in the Bhagavatam. Actually, we should feel very proud of devotional service. This is the best thing. This is the highest thing. This is the most sublime thing. This is the most exalted thing that we are doing. We are engaged in. We should be conscious of the glorious position of this occupation that we are doing. So, there's another reading of this verse. Dharma can also mean religion. Religion is that activity which sustains us. So, they're all interlinked. So, because dharma is a common language, which dharma you belong to? Oh, Hindu dharma, all right. Right? That's another meaning of the word dharma, religion. So, Prabhupada also explains in this sense also sometimes. So, which is the highest religion in the world? That's the answer to this question. And surprisingly, Sutta Goswami is not saying Hindu Dharma is the best religion. He's saying that religion which can bring about yatha bhakti radhokshaje, that can bring about love of God. Bhakti means love. Devotional service. Devotional service is an outcome of love. So that religion which can bring about love of God in all humanity. And that God, the conception of God should be adhokshaje, transcendental God. God, not of this world. You pick somebody and say, oh, he's God. No, that's not. That doesn't make him God. This is God of the transcendental world. Transcendent means beyond this world. So, this world is described as tamasaha. Tamasaha. One meaning of the word tamas is darkness. That's why you see this world is actually dark. When the sun rises, oh, we get light. When the sun sets, it becomes dark. We turn on lights to drive away the darkness. If the lights are not there in the night, when the sunlight is not there, it becomes dark. The whole universe is actually dark. Here and there are a few stars, like the sun. It illuminates a portion of the space. But otherwise, if the sun is not there, it becomes dark. That's why it is called tamasaha. That's the nature of the world. So, something that is transcendent means not of this world, but not of the world of darkness, but the world of light. And that's why Krishna is known as Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. He's dazzling. That Lord who is dazzling. Ananda Chinmaya Sadhujjvala Vigrahasya. He has got a form of dazzling splendor. This is how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates. Very beautiful. The Lord has a dazzling splendor. Vishesha Shobham. So, the Lord is adhokshaja, means not of this world, but of the transcendental world. And to that transcendental Lord, your activities or your religion must develop love in the followers of that religion. And that love, how should that love be? There are two adjectives used in this verse. One is ahaituki, means unmotivated, and apratihata, unchecked, uninterrupted. So, that activity which can lead us to develop love of God, to the transcendental God, and that love is unmotivated and uninterrupted. Unmotivated means sometimes people go to God, they go to religion, they go to church, they go to a church or a temple and say, "My dear Lord, I've come to you and I'm worshiping you and I've got my list of things that I need from you. Can you please fulfill those?" And if God, for some reason, does not fulfill that, okay, I don't have to go to God. Anyway, He's not going to fulfill. So the whole thing was motivated by a desire to fulfillment of one's own material desires. Not that kind. That's why it is called ahaituki, unmotivated. It's not that I will get some material benefit. That's why I want to go and serve. You see? In our country, there are so many temples, so many holy places, and sometimes people talk, "Oh, you go to this holy place and worship there, your daughter will get married. Your son will get a good job. Oh, you have this disease, go and worship this place, your disease will be cured." You see, like that. So religion is used for some material benefit. That religion is not the highest religion. That religion which will bring about love of transcendental God, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted. We go to God, we serve God, but then some difficulties come in life, some challenges come, forget. So that is interrupted because of some hurdles, some challenges, some difficulties, some anxiety. And so we give up. So, no, this should be ahaituki and apratihata bhakti to adhokshaja, to Lord who is adhokshaja, and that will yayatma suprasidati. That will completely satisfy. And this ahaituki apratihata bhakti to adhokshaja is the sara of all Vedic literature. It is the essence of all Vedic literature. Now, let's see how Srila Prabhupada further explains this. Again, Prabhupada is going back to the word occupation, because he has translated the word dharma as occupation. And the question is about parodharma, the highest dharma, highest activity, or sublime activity. You see, these are all very nice words that Srila Prabhupada used that actually should inspire us. Prabhupada said, as human beings, we must discover a higher quality of pleasure than the quality of pleasure that the animals enjoy. The animals enjoy sense gratification. That's the vocabulary of pleasure for the animals. We as human beings, supposedly very thoughtful, supposedly very intelligent, supposedly even according to science, on the top of the evolutionary cycle, we also engage and revel only in the pleasures of the senses, is it? That pleasure is available to the animals. So if we say that we are very evolved, if we say that we are very intelligent human beings, it should reflect in our activities. It should reflect in what is an impetus for us. If sense gratification is the impetus for us, great human beings, which is actually the impetus for the simple animals, how great are you? That's why Prabhupada is using the word paraha as sublime. Very nice. See, very thoughtfully Prabhupada's words, his choice of words, everything is very, very special. Many times I have wished I am on the panel to select the Nobel Prize for Literature, and I would have given to Srila Prabhupada. I am not. That's the sad part of it. Because the way Srila Prabhupada has presented this knowledge, very special knowledge, very carefully chosen words. So at least as his servants and his followers should read carefully and appreciate and internalize these things. So Prabhupada is saying, if we are so elevated human beings, we should be driven by sublime activities, sublime pleasure, not the pleasure of the animals. That should be driving us. And that's devotional service. So, Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, very interesting thing, how very nicely he is saying that there are two kinds of occupation, dharma, engagement, explained in the Vedic literatures. One is called the pravritti marga, another is called the nivritti marga. The pravritti marga is a method that is recommended where there is a gradual and regulated sense gratification permitted. And over a period of time, how long is that period of time? Maybe several lifetimes. You will get fed up of sense gratification. So, and then you can think of higher things. So that's the pravritti marga that's recommended in the Vedic literatures. There's another method, is the nivritti marga, the path of detachment. And very nicely Prabhupada is explaining why, but the path of detachment is considered superior to the path of attachment, the pravritti marga. Why? Prabhupada is explaining the reason. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called the pravritti marga, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called nivritti marga, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. So he's trying to build and say why this is called inferior. Our existence here in the material world is considered as a diseased state of our existence. What's our existence today? We have a body, a material body. And we live through this body, with this body, experience with this body. And that's our understanding of ourself. But actually, this is founded on ignorance. Because we are not the body. We are a spirit living and embodied, inhabiting this body. We are a spirit. We are not the body. But we are under the illusion that we are the body. And so because we think we are the body, we go about trying to make elaborate arrangements to gratify this body. How does the body get gratified? The body has senses, and we try to provide the different objects of senses which will gratify the body. And we do that whole life. Earning money, becoming famous, becoming powerful. And in the end, we feel lonely and unhappy. Even the successful people. And even if somebody is thinking, oh, I have all good things in life, I'm enjoying, no, I have a good family, I don't have loneliness. Suddenly, death happens. And the body is left behind, and the soul, who we are, leaves this body. Utkramantam stito vapi bhunjanam vagunanvitam nanu pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. This is how Krishna explains. The living entity is inside this body, sthitaha. The living entity is experiencing this body, bhunjana. And at some point, the living entity leaves this body, utkramantaha. Utkramaha means to leave and move on. Utkramanto stitham vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam. Guna-anvitam, under the modes of nature, bhunjana, experiencing various things that are happening to us. This is what is happening. We are sthitaha, the living entity is in the body, experiencing various things under the modes of nature in this body, and utkramantaha, and one day leaves this body. All this is happening, but mudha nanu pashyanti. Somebody who is mudha, who is unintelligent, or who is not trained in this, nanu pashyanti, doesn't understand any of these things. Because pashyanti jnana chakshushaha, this can be seen with the eye of knowledge. Without that knowledge, we cannot see. This is happening to us. It's happening all around us. That is why, to think that I am the body, I must gratify the senses, and in this way lead a whole life, is an inferior kind of an engagement. We are talking about parodharma, higher engagement, highest engagement. So this engagement of sense gratification is not considered higher engagement. The body is temporary, and our existence, we are not cognizant of everything, and there is always misery. It's temporary, misery, and ignorance. These are the characteristics of our life. We are temporary, and there are miseries one after the other, and we are not fully cognizant. Hey, what happened? Where were you before? Where will you go? Oh, he went away, he died. Where did he go? We don't know. Where will I go? I don't know. You see how we are highly lacking in knowledge. And we are still blissful. We are thinking, oh, everything is all right. That's why Prabhupada gave that example. One man met with an accident. Big accident. Head injury, multiple fracture. And then he was admitted in the hospital. And in the hospital, they somehow saved him and put bandage and this and that, cast and all those things. Whole body is bandaged and leg is hung this way. This one, another hand is tied this way so that he doesn't move. He has to rest. And when the news spreads, his friends and relatives, and so they bring one bouquet of flowers and they ask him, how are you? And his response will be, I'm fine. What's this? All the hand, leg, everything. I'm fine. Where are you fine? You see, this is the example in a very dramatic way Srila Prabhupada gave us so that we wake up and understand. We are not fine in this world. So, this path of enjoyment, pravritti marga, is inferior. Now let's see. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence or Brahma Bhuta existence. That's called Brahma Bhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. There is just the futile attempt to get rid of miseries. And temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. See, sometimes when we get fever, high fever, then rush to the doctor, take medicine. Oh, body pain, no appetite, all kinds of ailment. And then we take the medicine, and then we become all right. And then, so nice it is. So there was misery and cessation of misery, and we feel good. Now, like say for instance, now, most of us, I don't think all or any of us, are having fever now. But just because there is no fever, are we feeling positive happiness about it? No, something else is bothering us. And we are trying to fight that misery. So, constantly we are fighting misery, and a temporary cessation of misery for a while, we think that is happiness. And again another misery takes over, and again we keep fighting that. This is what is happening. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior. But devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which leads one to eternal, blissful, and all-cognizant life, is called the superior quality of occupation. You see, parodharma. This is a higher quality of occupation. Now, so this is pravritti marga, this is nivritti marga. This is inferior, this is superior. Now, what happens practically, Prabhupada is saying, sometimes human beings, it's our weakness, we mix the two. We do devotional service so that we'll get some material enjoyment. That's the disease. See, we do devotional service so that I can become famous man. Everybody will respect me. So, in our movement, because in Krishna consciousness we use money, we use wealth, we have buildings, we build skyscraper temples. We should be very careful. All this we are doing for Krishna, for His pleasure. We should not be carried away by that. So we should lead a very simple life. I'll give time. We should lead a very simple life and keeping always our focus on Krishna consciousness. So this is what happens. This is called Mishra Bhakti. So, this is sometimes polluted when mixed with the inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. So we were supposed to follow the path of nivritti, but we took on some aspects of the pravritti. I will get that benefit. That is why it is not called parodharma. If something has to be called parodharma, then it should be ahaituki. Unmotivated by material desires. And it should be apratihata. Not some difficulties come, we stop. And such devotional service, yayatma suprasidati. This is the point that Sutta Goswami is making here. And so, that's why you see, and this constitutes the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Most people don't know. They don't know that what is the essence of all Vedic wisdom. This is the Sara. This is the Manishaya Samudritya Sara. Very intelligently, thoughtfully selected essence of all Vedic knowledge is Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yatho Bhaktiradhokshaje Ahaitukya Pratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. So, we should be very confident about this path of devotional service that Srila Prabhupada has given. This is the highest, this is the most sublime, this is the most exalted thing, and we should not give up under any circumstance. Difficulties will be there, challenges will be there, but we should continue to practice this at all costs. We'll stop here. If there is any questions anybody has. Yes, please. Yeah. To avoid the mixing. You see, now we are talking about tattva. We are talking philosophical principles. First, let's understand the philosophical principles. Let's intellectually understand. Let's emotionally appreciate that how this is very, very superior and sublime and exalted. Next, when it comes to application in general and an application in our personal lives. How do we do this? How do we go about that? So, it's a fact that, like Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavrutam. He uses the word jnana and karma anavrutam. Avrutam means covered. It should be uncovered. Jnana and karma uncovering. So what is the meaning of karma covering? Karma covering. Prabhupada uses one word, fruitive activities. Very commonly used word in Prabhupada's books. Fruitive activities means you perform an action and you think by that action there must be a result which I must enjoy. This is called karma contamination. This is a very deep contamination in the conditioned soul. It's a fact that we always want a return and we want to enjoy that result of that activity. We want to act, get a result, and enjoy that result. So, Krishna gradually builds up in the Bhagavad Gita. First he says, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You don't have a right over the phala of your karma. You only have a right over your duty, karma. You should only perform your karma. The result, you have no right over it. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Phaleshu kadachana na adhikaraha. Karmanya eva adhikaraha. Only for your performing your activities, you have the right over it. Then Prabhupada asked the question, okay, I'll do business and I've earned 1 crore rupees profit. What shall I do with it? Krishna said, I only have adhikara over my karma. I did, and this result has come. Shall I go and put it in the ocean? That was the initial expression. That's the initial teaching. Later on, Krishna says, after he tells who Krishna is, he is the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Enjoyer. Then Krishna says, Yat karoshi yadashnasi, yat juhoshi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, Tad kurushva madarpanam. You should do your karma. Don't enjoy your result. And the result, you offer it to Krishna. So, our activities should be there. And the result of our activity, we should offer to Krishna. This is the right understanding. Because He is the Supreme Lord. Where are we acting? On the earth. Who's the owner of this earth? Krishna. What are we acting with? We are acting with our body, with others' bodies, all coming together. We are performing some activities. This body is nothing but a transformation of the food we are eating. And for the food, where is it coming from? It's coming from earth. It's coming from water. It's coming because of sunlight. None of those things are ours. It's God's. So this body is God's. And the body has certain abilities, intelligence. And all this intelligence, it's coming from God. Buddhir buddhiyatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham. I am the intelligence in every living entity. And I am the tejas in anything that is full of tejas. Tejasvinam. Tejas tejasvinamaham. So He's the one who is giving intelligence. And there is something called Kala over which you perform your activities. This Kala is His energy. You see, when we are dreaming, there is no proper Kala. Everything gets muddled up there, right? And then we wake up, hey, oh, what happened? Oh, this was all. Of course, there is a dream Kala. There is a Kala of Swapna. But it is not like here Kala is neatly organized. And in Kala, things are unfolding. This Kala is Krishna's energy. Now, who is performing all these things? The living entity, right? All living entity. That living entity is Krishna's Amsha. What is there then? For us to claim it's me and my work and I will enjoy the results of my work. That's why it is said, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. It is everything is Vasudeva Sarvamitihi. Everything is Krishna's. We are Krishna's. The body is Krishna's. The world is Krishna. All the energy and the intelligence and resources available are Krishna's. And we are thinking we will use all these things and use it for my enjoyment. That's why when somebody doesn't recognize Krishna and thinks I can use it for my enjoyment, he is a thief. We are actually stealing. We are actually thieves. So, now, the next thing is how to practically apply these principles. The way to apply these principles is we use all of this material energy and the resources that are available to serve the mission of the Lord. The Lord has a mission in this world. And that mission is, just like Krishna told Arjuna, you fight. It's my mission. I have organized this battle in this battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's my desire. Nimitta matram bhavasavyasachi. You just become an instrument in my mission. Arjuna said, yes, I will fight now. In the same way, the Lord has an ongoing mission in this material world, and He's saying we can also become instruments just like Arjuna had that glorious opportunity to serve in the mission of the Lord. Each one of us, Krishna is giving that opportunity. We can also be a participant in the glorious mission of the Lord. And the mission of the Lord is, Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Whomever we meet, tell them about Krishna. Enlighten them about Krishna knowledge. Give them Krishna knowledge. So, we use our activities, our spirit to do work and all this energy we have and the passion we have to spread Krishna consciousness because that's Krishna's mission. So, by doing this, we get purified. So that is how we engage in various activities. And at the same time, we should be remembering these instructions so that in our activities, we don't get swept away and think that I must enjoy the results of all these things in some subtle way. So this mixing does not happen. So initially there will be mixing, and that's why in a regulated way these devotional activities are performed, so that as much as possible the two things are kept aside and we will become more and more renounced and purified. So this is I don't know if you know the story of Walt Disney. Walt Disney had great, I don't know whether it's real true story, but at least this is a story told. But at least this story has a good message for Krishna consciousness. So for that, at least it has value. So it is said, I will say, because I also don't know whether it's a true story. Walt Disney this is of course true, Walt Disney had great faith in science. And he says science is going to improve and one day cure death. And so it was his desire, it is said, that when I die, please put me in liquid nitrogen. So I'll be at minus 134 degrees centigrade or something. And let me be like that in a deep freezer. And one day when scientists have discovered how to bring dead bodies life, bring me back to life and I'll continue working. That's what he had written in his will. And so he died and he was put into a deep freezer. And then that was all over. And then after the mourning days and all those things, then all the different people, they started discussing. And his shares, it was all billions of dollars shares he had. And his heirs and the son and the grandson, all of them distributed that. And they all became billionaires and then now their life, but they were always worried. What if he comes back to life? All the money that we have now shared among ourselves. So it is said, one of them went and turned off the freezer. And then a few days later, they came back and said, oh, what's happened? The freezer is not working. It's so many days, it's normal temperature. And this body has decomposed. Now let's finish him. Go and bury him or whatever. Get rid of the body. And so they became happy. Now he won't come back. Apratihata can apply to both situations and many more situations. Apratihata means uninterrupted, not stopped. Prabhupada gives an example. A river is flowing. Suddenly a hill comes. What does the river do? Goes around the hill. It is heading towards the ocean. Till it reaches the ocean, it is not at peace. The river is flowing, flowing, flowing with a lot of energy. So in the same way, we should not be disturbed by any material circumstances. So challenges may come, difficulties may come. We should know how even in the most challenging situation, we can keep performing devotional service. We should know that art, we should know the science, we should learn and we should practice so that we know how to do devotional service under all kinds of difficult situations and never stop devotional service. And also try to maintain the highest standard. It is possible, even in challenging situations, one can render the highest devotional standard of devotional service. So that in both these senses we can take. Stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki, Shri Prahlad Narsimhadev ki, Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.